sound thrilled, I can tell. All right. Before I jump into the series, I want to let you know two things. One, we're having our party on the shore, and baptisms are a part of that. So next weekend, I want you, if you've never been baptized, I want you to get baptized, okay? If you've never been under the water saying, I'm a follower of Jesus, I want you to do that, okay? It's time for you to do that. Also, on top of that, today is our first Sunday for Connect Group signups. So go ahead, sign up for Connect Groups, and get involved in a group. And I'm going to tell you now, it's going to change your life forever in a good kind of way. Not the bad kind of way. In the really, really good kind of way, it's going to change your life forever. I promise you that. Okay, so here we are. We're in week number 1 of this brand new series called Thrill Sequence. Now, Thrill Sequence is not a term you may be familiar with. So let me explain a little bit for you, okay? Thrill Sequence is kind of the sequence in life we find ourselves on where we keep chasing one thing after another. You been there? You chase the high, and then what happens inevitably? You come back down, right? So and then what do? You chase it again. I like to think about it like a roller coaster, right? You jump in that thing, and it's like, right? And you go up to the top, and then it's like, woo! And you're spinning, and you're twisting, and you're flipping upside down, and you're going fast. But what happens at the end of it? You end up right where you started. Like 2 minutes later. You didn't go anywhere, right? You expended a lot of energy, you had a lot of experience, but you didn't actually go anywhere. And there's a lot of parts of our lives that are just like that. We're on this thrill sequence. We chase and we chase and we chase. And there's actually a personality type called a T-type, a personality type called the T-type that is predispositioned to live out this sort of life. They're a risk-oriented sort of personality. And the T-types, if they were a positive T-type, they would be entrepreneurs. They're going out of their way to start things and be business. They're okay to risk in the business world. The negative T-types turn into like sociopaths. I hope you're not here this morning. Or at least I hope you don't know where I live. Okay, all right, so sociopath. A mental T-type is a person like Einstein or Galileo. They take their mind and they just kind of risk, and they start to think, and they start to go beyond. And a physical T-type is those extreme sports kind of people. Anybody like that in here? Like the two of you. Okay, that's great. Everybody else is like, the airplane works, why jump out, right? Like it just it doesn't make any sense, right? And you may be in here this morning, you're going, oh great, a series that's definitely not for me because I'm not a thrill seeker. I'm not that kind of person. But the truth of the matter is, all of us seek thrills, but maybe just a different kind. You may not be looking for a shark to swim with or an alligator to wrestle, right? You may not be that kind of person, but don't we all chase something in our life? Don't we all have a thrill that we kind of pursue, whether that's your dream job or career or that financial position or a possession or a type of relationship or a relationship that's outside of what your relationships currently are? We all chase something because we all want to find some sort of thrill. And again, we may not be the T-types. We may not be bungee jumping and hang gliding and doing those things, but all of us chase something. In fact, all of us have this innate desire to do something with our lives. And inside of us, I believe that's something given by God, but sometimes we take that innate desire given by God and we point it in a direction we really were never supposed to go. And so if you look at our culture right now, we have more money than we've ever had as a society, right? We're a wealthy society. We have more time, and so we have more ability to chase the thrills. And there's if you want to do something, there's pretty much other people out there that want to do that too, right? You like fishing? Great. There's a group over here. You like extreme sports? Cool. You like knitting, crocheting? Okay, go over that way. You know, like there's people who love movies or television shows. There's people who love all sorts of different things. Why? They're all chasing the thrill together. We have a lot of time. But in biblical days, there wasn't a lot of time, you know what I'm saying? Like their biggest concern was like, what are we going to eat today, right? Let's go to the field and make sure that the vineyards are working. Let's make sure that the sheep are taken care of. There was a lot of work involved in the process of just getting through life. And so it was very rare in biblical days for someone to chase the thrill for the sake of the thrill. But fortunately, there were a couple of guys, and one of those guys in particular began to write down his experiences. That guy was Solomon. You may have heard him as King Solomon. He was the third king of Israel, and he wrote several books in the Bible, and one of them was Proverbs, and one of them was Ecclesiastes. And Ecclesiastes is where we're going to spend the bulk of our introduction to this message, because Solomon went through the process of the thrill sequence. He decided, I'm going to figure out what life is all about. I'm going to go through and I'm going to try every thrill and see if any one of these thrills, any one of these things can make me feel satisfied in life. He says, I'm going to try them all. I'm going to try every single one, and then I'm going to write down the results. In fact, he came up with a name for himself. Check this out in chapter 1 of Ecclesiastes. He goes, call me the quester. I'm on a quest, man. I'm on a quest to find the thrill and the sequence in the thrill. I'm on a quest to figure out what it's all about. I've been king over Israel in Jerusalem. I looked most carefully into everything, searched out all that is done on this earth. And he continues, and he says this, and let me tell you, there's not much to write home about. Wow, that's positive. Thank you, all right? Thanks, Solomon. And God hasn't made it easy for us. Woo, right? I've seen it all, and it's nothing but smoke and spitting into the wind. Well, how did he come to this conclusion? Well, let's go to chapter 2, and let's read some of the things that he's done, all right? So check this out. He says that, I said to myself, let's go for it. Experiment with pleasure. Have a good time. But there was nothing to it, nothing but smoke. What do I think of the fun-filled life? Insane, inane. And then he continues with this. He goes, my verdict on the pursuit of happiness? Who needs it? Wow, Solomon, you're really depressing, bro. Doesn't that sound like really depressing? But look how he approached this. He goes, with the help of the bottle of wine, he goes, so I tried to drink my way into a thrill. You ever know people that experience that before, right? Or it doesn't have to be a drink, it doesn't have to be a bottle, it can be any kind of substance, right? With the help of a bottle of wine and the wisdom, and all the wisdom I can muster. You meet people they're like professional students. Like they have like 4 master's degree and a PhD, and the only thing they don't have is a job, right? They're like, oh, give me more knowledge, and they're trying to find the thrill. They find the thrill in the educational side, right? And they never actually launch into life. He says, and I tried my level best to penetrate the absurdity of life. And then he continues with this, and this is a longer passage, so just bear with me, okay? I wanted to get a handle on anything useful we mortals might do during the years we spend on this earth. And then he begins to list some of the things that he did. He checked this out. Oh, I did great things. I built a house, planted vineyards, designed gardens and parks, and planted a variety of fruit trees in them. I made pools of water to irrigate these groves of trees. And what is he doing? He's growing his empire, right? He's planting trees. He's getting rich. He's building great works. He's doing these things. He's expanding his stock portfolio, right? He just keeps going and going. But it didn't really reach him. It didn't help him. And then he continues with this, and he goes, I bought slaves, male and female, who had children, giving me even more slaves. And you're going, whoa, TJ, slavery, really? Yeah, he tried to use other people to get to his own end. You know people like that? They don't care who they use to get to the top. He goes, I tried it. I went that way. And then I acquired large herds and flocks, and larger than any before me in Jerusalem. He's saying, I was the best. Like my Instagram account was way better than yours, right? Like I was having the thrill of a life, and I just wanted to show everyone I was better than everyone. I reached the pinnacle of success in my generation. I piled up silver and gold and loot from kings and kingdoms. I took what wasn't even mine and just stacked it in piles and looked at it. I just wanted it. And then he continues with this. I gathered a chorus of singers to entertain me with a song. He goes, I went to all the latest concerts. I bought all the latest CDs. I had Beats by Dre. You know what I'm saying? He's just like, I had it all. I got it all. All the entertainment that there could possibly muster, I brought it into my life. And most exquisite of all pleasures, voluptuous maidens for my bed. Okay, you know what that means, okay? he was on Match.com and Tinder and speed dating and everything, right? He just kept, come on then, all right? And he says, oh, how I prospered. And then look at this. And then he gets a little arrogant with this. He says, I left all my predecessors in Jerusalem far behind in the dust. I mean, I was the best, the most powerful, the most famous, the most riches, the most everything. What's more, I kept a clear head through it all. Everything I wanted, I took. I never said no to myself. I gave in to every impulse and held back nothing. Doesn't that sound a lot like our culture today? Do what feels good. Just do it. Whatever makes you happy, just do it. And he goes, I did. I did it all. And then he continues. He says this, I sucked the marrow of pleasure out of every task. My reward to myself for the hard day's work. Then I took a good look at everything I'd done, looked at all the sweat and hard work, and what does he say? But when I looked, check out this verse, but when I looked, I saw nothing but smoke. Just drifting away. Smoke and spitting into the wind. It's so stupid you can't even spit downwind, right? Like it's just, like it doesn't make sense. And then there was nothing of any of it. Nothing. He's describing this thrill sequence that we find ourselves on sometimes. We pursue the relationship only to find ourselves back at square one with a broken heart, right? We pursue the finances only to find ourselves back at the same position we once were. We pursue this, we pursue that, and there's a lot of moving and a lot of shaking, just like that roller coaster. You feel like you've really done something. You feel like you've really gone somewhere. But how many of you experienced it just like me? Man, I did a lot, but I didn't really move anywhere. My life is just as painful or lonely or empty or broke as I ever was before, right? I don't see it. I think today is your day to get off the thrill sequence and to find something real. Not just the things that the world tells us we should be living for and chasing and going after, but let's get off the roller coaster for a little while and get onto God's plan. So here's what I want to do today. I want to talk to you about three things about the thrill sequence. Three things that we should be aware of in the thrill sequence so that we know what the thrill sequence can do and take us into before we make a decision. And so the rest of this series, we're going to talk about the real, but today we're going to talk about the thrill, all right? So number one, if you're taking notes, you can write this down. If you're not taking notes, go ahead and write it down anyway. All right, number one, the thrill takes you places you never wanted to go. The thrill takes you places you never wanted to go. Let me put it this way. We were going for a feeling, but we ended up with a lifestyle, right? Well, we wanted the thrill. We wanted to feel excitement. We wanted to feel something, but at the end of the day, we go, wait a minute, how did I get here? Reminds me of a story about Albert Einstein. He got on a train one day to head somewhere, and he lost his ticket, and the conductor was like, oh, don't worry about it. We know who you are. Come on in. He goes, I know who I am too. I just don't know where I'm going, right? He didn't know what stop he was supposed to get off on. And sometimes I think we look at the thrills of life, and we go, ooh, that's exciting. Ooh, that's exciting. Ooh, that's exciting. But we never take the time to kind of peek around the corner and go, is this the direction I want to go? Let me give you a couple examples. We can think about this let's start with substances, okay? To go out and have a party with your friends. There's nothing wrong with having a good time with your friends. I don't even mind people having a drink, you know what I'm saying? But the Bible tells us specifically, don't get drunk, right? And don't live for the bottle, or don't live for that substance. Don't live for those things. And so the problem is, though, we look at the thrill today, and we don't realize that the lifestyle it brings ultimately, that there could be an addiction involved there, that there could be abuse in there, and it could lead us to problems. And we don't realize that that one night of going too far could lead to a lifestyle if we drive drunk and something like that, or if we get arrested for a certain substance, right? It could change the lifestyle forever. Does that make sense? We were in it for the thrill, but the lifestyle goes there. We could take this in a different direction, maybe financially, maybe, okay, you go, I would look good in that car, right? I would make that car look good. In fact, that's a really new car, and I really like that car, and so I'm going to buy that car. Why? Because it's thrilling. It's new, it's shiny, it smells good, it's got leather. I was in my friend's car the other day. It had air-conditioned seats. I was like, are you kidding me, right? Can I have one of these, please, okay? And what do? We go, I would look good in that. It's thrilling. So what do? You get into it, right? You buy that car, and then months later realize, well, I can't afford this car. But what happened to your lifestyle? Well, you can't exactly just go, excuse me, can I take this back? They go, no, give us more money, right? And so what happens to your lifestyle? Your lifestyle goes from driving a broken car and you can eat whatever you want to driving a new car and you're eating ramen, right? It changes. Like the decision to pursue the thrill in a moment changes your lifestyle. In the book of Proverbs, Solomon wrote this book as well, Proverbs chapter 14, he says it like this. He kind of lays it out there for us. There's a path before each person that seems right. There's a thrill that looks fun. There's a train to get on. You go, oh, look at the train. Oh my gosh, this is a great train. Isn't it great? Look at the big shiny rims on this train, right? The comfortable seats. They've got a food cart in the back. Let's get on this train. And you never look at the end of the road. Like where is the train going is the real question, right? Why get on this thrill if we don't even know where the thrill is going to lead us? And so the verse ends, but it ends in death. Oh, I don't want to get on that train, right? That's the highway to hell. I don't want to get on that one, right? But it looks good. But what Solomon's saying is, it looks good right now, but the end isn't where you want to go. Before you get on the thrill, that ride, why don't you look down the track and see which way it goes? So you can decide, is this the direction I want to go with my life? Do I want to become like that? And don't tell yourself you're the exception. Oh, I'll just do it once and it won't matter. No, it does matter. Because once you get on the train, you can't get off. It's hard. You have to pursue one thrill after another. Because number 2, check this out, the thrill is never enough. The thrill is never enough. When I was a kid, I went on my first roller coaster. I was with a summer camp, like the first mental remembrance of a roller coaster. Summer camp, we went to Busch Gardens. It was pretty cool. And we decided, my buddy and I, we were going to start with one of the smaller roller coasters because we were noobs at all of this roller coastering kind of action, right? So we're like, okay. And there was one there called the Python. You guys remember the Python from way back? Yeah, you remember that? It was like the worst roller coaster ever. But for us, it seemed 1,000,000 miles high. It was incredibly fast. It was it went 40 miles an hour. It was really, whoa, And so we were waiting in line, and we get in the Python, and we're all latched in, and when it's like tick, 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 and we're like, oh my gosh, so nervous, so nervous, so nervous. And then we get, and it's got one loop, and then you just spin around and you're done. It's like a 30-second roller coaster. And we were so nervous over it. And we're like, yes, that's amazing, right? And we had one thrill, and we're like, wow, do you want to ride it again? No, this one sucks. And we had to go find a bigger roller coaster. And at that time, Montu was the new one, right? There's this big one named Montu. And so we jumped over there, we ran over there, and we get in Montu, and I'm like, there's no floor, bro. This is a lot bigger level. I leveled up a lot, right? And so one thrill wasn't enough. I had to go find the most extreme thrill, immediately, right? And so we go up there, and I'm like, bro, I love you, man. We're gonna die. They're gonna die today. I'm gonna fall out of here. Something. It's gone, right? But what happened? I experienced the thrill, but the thrill wasn't enough. And the same thing has happened in all of our lives, right? Oh, if I could only make so much money, we'd be good. And when you start to make that amount of money, what happens? If I had a little bit more, I'd be good. If my car was a little newer, a little faster, if my relationship was a little this or a little that, or if I had that person instead of this person, right? Recently, this has been in the news a lot, the Ashley Madison leak. You guys hear that? Right? There's a website devoted to having an affair, and the list got leaked. And so people are all over the place getting in trouble by their spouses and more, their bosses and everything else, right? And so they're getting in trouble. How did that Ashley Madison start? How did people get to that level? It didn't start one day waking up, you know what? It's a good idea today. I'm going to have an affair. No. It started with one thrill. One little thrill. One little look. One little linger that led to a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more because the first thrill no longer thrilled them anymore. They had to go something higher, something faster, something deeper, something different, right? Another person, a new interaction, and it took them to places they never wanted to go. If you would ask them before, they never want to end up there. They didn't say on their wedding day, hey, I wish we could both have affairs someday. They never wanted to go there, but they ended up there. Why? Because they chased one thrill after the other, after the other, after the other, and it never satisfies. Check this out from Ecclesiastes chapter 2. This is the verse we just read, but it's in a different translation. It says, anything I wanted, I would take. I denied myself no pleasure. I even found great pleasure in hard work, a reward for all my labors. But as I looked at everything I had worked so hard to accomplish, it was also meaningless, like chasing the wind. There was nothing really worthwhile anywhere. He's saying, I tried it, and one thrill only led to another thrill, which led to another thrill, which led to another thrill, and I was never fully satisfied. And at the end of all of this experiment, I found myself no further along than I was before. And you saw all the areas that he exhausted about riches and finances and people and using people and sleeping and that sexual conquest and the possessions and the looting from other kings. He did it all, and he goes, you know what? The thrill sequence was never enough. And this is ingrained inside of us to try to pursue something. And in fact, in our culture today, they capitalize on that. I'm so happy football is back, right? Well, okay, maybe I'm the only one, all right? But I can tell you this year, more than any other year, I've seen commercials for those sites that allow you to kind of bet on your team 1 week at a time. You ever see FanDuel and DraftKings? It's like fantasy football for 1 week, and here's their line. First one's free. Right? Like a crack dealer, isn't it? Am I lying? And once you get hooked on the thrill, they know you can't watch week 2 the same way. Because week 1, you could win money, and when you don't win money week 2, you're like, well, this sucks. And so you go back week 3 and go, I got to experience the thrill again, except for this time it has to be more. It's not $20, it's $40. And it's not $40 the next week, it's $80, and so on and so forth, right? Because one thrill will always lead to another. And it starts this cycle, this lifestyle that we don't want to get on. And culture knows that you want the next thrill. And so what do? They market to it. They market to the thrill that you got to pull you in a little deeper, to pull you in a little further. Just beware that when we get on this train, we want to see where the tracks are going, right? We want to make sure that this is the road that we want to go down. Does that make sense to y'all? Good. All right, number 3 is the final point for you. The thrill needs to give way to the real. The thrill needs to give way to the real. Our culture is full of false reals. False reals, or false thrills even. And there's a ton of examples. I'm just going to focus in on one. I love movies. Do you guys love movies? We just did the series at the movies. Movies are fun, but at the same time, they're a false reel. They're a false thrill. Because in reality, like, okay, I don't watch chick flicks, but ladies, you like chick flicks, right? Why do you like chick flicks? They make me feel good. They fell in love with each other, right? Like, and if they don't end up together at the end, ladies, you're what? You're mad, aren't you? I wasted 2 hours on this movie, right? Like, and they didn't even end up together, right? It's no good, right? Guys, we like action movies, right? Because we feel like we went on an adventure, right? We did something. We felt something. Thrillers, oh my gosh, like the thriller movies. You just like your heart's pounding and you're just engulfed in the story, and you feel like you really experienced something. You feel the love, you feel the adventure, you feel the thrill of these movies. But in reality, what did we do? We sat in a room with a bunch of people for 2.5 hours and ignored all of them. Didn't we? Did we actually go anywhere? No. Did we experience anything? No. We just lost time. And I'm not saying you can't watch a movie, but our culture is telling us this is thrilling, this is thrilling, this is thrilling, when in reality it's just a movie, right? We didn't actually do anything. So sometimes the thrill is fun, but it doesn't actually get us anywhere. So we need to exchange some of the thrills that we experience for the real in our life, don't we? For the real. Matthew chapter 14, verse 24, we read a story about Jesus. He had just fed 5,000 people. Talk about real, right? The disciples are handing out the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and it just keeps multiplying, talking about, wow, that's amazing. Jesus goes up on a mountain to pray. He sends the disciples in a boat to cross the lake, and it's a really, really big lake. And he says, go out across, and so they're on the boat, and we pick it up right there. Meanwhile, the disciples were in trouble far away from the land, for a strong wind had risen, and they were fighting heavy waves. About 3 o'clock in the morning, Jesus came toward them, walking on the water. You guys hear this story before? Jesus walking on the water, okay? Now, if you think about it, the disciples are in a very thrilling state, aren't they? There's a storm, there's waves. I mean, if there's a hurricane in the Gulf, I can name a dozen people off the top of my head that will get their surfboard and go, right? They live for this moment. They're like, oh, another one? Yes, and they run out into the danger. Why? Because they're seeking the thrill. There's people that take their kayak and find the roughest rivers in the world and go, next, and they jump in, right? Why? Because they want to experience what the disciples are experiencing. Now, I'm not saying that the disciples wanted this thrill. I'm just saying they're in the middle of a thrill, right? They're in the middle of a thrill. But what happens is, in the midst of this thrill, the real starts walking by. In the midst of your thrill, whether you want that thrill or not, Jesus is walking by. And look what Peter does. Check this out. Then Peter called to him, Lord, if it's really you, if you're the real deal, if that's the real, if you're the real right there, tell me to come to you walking on the water. I want to experience the real. There is thrill everywhere, and it is not satisfying Peter at this point, right? He says, call me to the real. Call me to the real, Jesus. I want the real so bad, Jesus. Call me out so that I can experience something real in you. And what does Jesus say? He goes, yes, come. So Peter went over the side of the boat and he walked on the water toward Jesus. And then something happens. But when he saw the strong wind and the waves, he was terrified and he began to sink. What happened? He took his eyes off the real and put it back to the thrill. Every time we take our eyes off the real and we put it on the thrill, it's a distraction, and we begin to move backwards in our life. We get back on the roller coaster, and we spin, and we whip, and we flip, and we do all these other things, but we never get to actually go anywhere. Keep your eyes on the real instead of the thrill. And so he shouted, "Save me, Lord," which is a great prayer if you find yourself in a rough spot, right? He shouted. Jesus immediately reached out and grabbed him. "You have so little faith," Jesus said, and he continues, "Why did you doubt me?" When they climbed back into the boat, the wind stopped. Then the disciples worshiped him, all of the disciples. "You really are the Son of God," they said. "Hey, you are the real." We've experienced the thrill. We've experienced the roller coaster, the train, the whatever analogy you want to use of just the cycle again and again and again. But you, Jesus, you're the real deal. You're the real deal. And it all starts with Peter with a question: God, will you call me into the real? And then Jesus gives this beautiful invitation: yes, come, come, come. And I don't know where you are in your life right now. You may be in a position where you've experienced thrill after thrill after thrill after thrill, and you're going, you know what, my life is not anywhere near where it should be, where I thought it would be. I thought these thrills would give me something, but they really just haven't. I've had a lot of experiences, but at the end of the day, there's nothing that is satisfied. We need to do what Peter did. Jesus, call me to the real. Call me to something that lasts in you. And Jesus responds to you the same way he responded to Peter. Yes, come. Come, experience the real with me. Now, I can't pretend to know where you are right now in your relationship with God. But what I do know is God is calling each one of us into something real. He's calling each one of us into something more than just the thrill of a moment. Whether we chose to be there or not, that's not where we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be experiencing the real of what he has for us. So this morning, here's what I'd like to do. If you don't mind closing your eyes, bowing your head so there's no distraction, no one moving around. I'd like to take a little while and just lead you in a prayer that simply says, God, call me to the real. I want to forget the thrill. Call me to the real. I want to experience something real in you. And all of that starts with one simple prayer that says, God, I give you my entire life. I surrender my entire life to you. And in exchange of that surrender, he gives you a new life in him. He gives you something new. The Bible calls that being born again or being saved. So this morning, here's what I'd like to do. I'd like for each one of us to pray quietly where we are for a thrill. Not just any thrill, the thrill of the real in him. In order to do that, we've got to start our relationship with him today by giving our lives to him. So let's pray this prayer together. You can pray quietly where you are, quietly in your heart. We pray like this: Jesus, thank you for your sacrifice for me. Thank you for forgiving me of all of my sins, for giving me a new life in you. And this morning I pray that as I forget the thrill and I chase the real, that you would show me things that I've never seen before, God. Satisfaction in life, joy in you, peace like never before. And I pray that as I pursue that promise in you, something incredible would happen. Thank you for making me new. Thank you for giving me a new life and forgiving me of all the sins in my past. In your name we pray. Everybody says, amen.